teeth, making the warden look
Hi, welcome to the Penelope Possum channel with me, your host, Penelope the Possum.
It has your name.
Hi, I was gonna play Warhammer Boltgun before I realized exactly how exhausted I was. Yes, new door. Suffice to say, work was rough. Had to clean poop off of floor. Let's just watch a funny video about the funny Minecraft man. I know.
Back to the collective.
But that's just life.
Anything, absorb all life in the world. So I'm gonna try to survive for 100 days, and not only survive, but push the horde back. And hey, if you want to join the Skulk Horde, there's a new t-shirt and bomber jacket available on the store right now.
Very neat.
Head over to Lagundo.store to check them out.
Hello. Today was not particularly kind to the poor little possum.
But now, it's time to start our story at the end of the world. Day 1. Alright, so that right there, that's a problem. And it's going to take over the whole world very, very quickly. I quickly spent a little bit of time just punching at it to see what it would take, how fast it grows, and it's going to dominate the whole world. You saw the intro. I made myself some basic wooden tools, wooden pickaxe, wooden axe, set the marker for ground zero, grabbed myself some berries for food, and then just started.
I got a treat right now, though. A nice, lovely, flat beer.
Establish ourselves some basic gear before we're going to be fighting the infection head on.
It's not bad, at least.
Iron killed whatever I could find because any living thing around here is just more food for the horde. And believe me, it
tastes like bread.
Look at how far it's already spread. Oh, it's just working its way and working its way out. Oh, are you a good bee or a bad bee? Okay, you were a normal bee, but I'm sorry. I wasn't just killing that bee for fun. There is a reason. Bees, the Skulk versions, are like the worst possible thing you can see out in
Hey, bud.
But I'm grabbing myself some sugar.
Have a gift.
What, you don't want the rest of these?
Not really.
You're silly.
I know. I return.
That's going to come important. We'll see why in a little bit. Making my way out to a plains biome with caves. I was able to get some iron, deal with a few creepers that were hiding inside, and kill some sheep to get myself some wool for my first bed and my first night's rest. The following day, I continued running along the ocean, trying to see just what is around the local area.
All right.
I made my way into a frozen space, and I've seen the thing. Maybe that will keep the alien horde back in some way. I took advantage of the additional travel speed coat on both ice and.
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Maybe they're in the description. It does not. I'm sorry that I don't know what kind of mods this guy has.
Water, potentially being a little bit panicked that this killer whale was going to eat me at some point in time, but I think they share the dolphin AI, so it was friendly. I did kind of stand on top of glaciers to make sure, though, first. I continued my way across the entire frozen
Okay, that's pretty cool.
staying in the cold biomes to think that that would buy myself a little bit more time. As I made my way up to a pillager outpost. I grabbed whatever supplies I could get out of the chest on the roof, getting some rudimentary iron, which would help me kickstart a little bit faster. Smelting up what I had collected, and then looking what I could build as far as armor, because I'm gonna need
Wooden leggings. Alright. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it does create new kinds of fun. Like, it seems he has an armor mod and certainly some kind of skull confection mod.
Neighbors, and I was off the next morning, heading into slightly more temperate climates, killing whatever animals I could find, mostly for food, partially to deny them the mass to the skull cord, and then making my way into a village where I'm going to steal everything that isn't nailed down. There's a lot of coal blocks around here, which will come in handy. I'm cooking my meat on the campfires that I'm finding.
I mean, some mods actually make the game a little harder. Or just add things that are more or less like flavor.
Around and seeing things like iron ingots, compasses, bread, chests, paper. All of this will be very useful. One of the biggest things, though, was the string find. Just being able to cut all these cobwebs is going to come in super handy, and having animals around that I can eat, also pretty good. But I went down for a quick nap in the village and dreamt about this video's sponsor, the Stride Network. If you've been watching me for a while, you've heard of Stride before. They sponsored us back in the Aether video when they had just released their Clumsy Crew game mode, which is an obstacle course minigame similar to Fall Guys and only up. And back then, I mentioned their build competitions. Well, Stride has partnered with me to sponsor and design the next one. They're making their next build competition all about Skulk, where you can include that block in your build palette in any creative way and be entered to win your part of the $200 prize pool. You're gonna have 24 hours to build in this competition, making your best Skulkified creation. And I'll be hanging out on their server at 7 p.m. Eastern next weekend. Sit around and check out your builds, offer advice, and be a part of the process. Stride has its own custom SMP, minigames like Clumsy Crew, Redstone competitions, and the build battles. I can't wait to see you all there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you join. Times and IP are right here on screen. Join at mc.stride.gg. And with that little bit of fun
Well, that was a lot of information.
out of the way, let's get back to the apocalypse as I continued my looting and larceny of the village. Maybe I should do a pillager 100 days one of these days. But I killed basically every cow I could find, finding a full set of iron armor on one of the armor stands, which helped me complete my look, with some bow upgrades from the walls, some additional bread from the chests, and all of my food cooked up. My inventory is looking very full very quickly, but we're going to do something about that. I made myself a sword, went up and finally cut all those cobwebs, and crafted up a sophisticated backpack. This would greatly increase my overall storage, and upgrading it to iron right away meant that I had 6 rows, basically a double chest strapped to my back at all times.
Okay, that's a little broken. That is a little tiny bit broken right there.
And you also know me and fireworks and crossbows. I keep trying to make them work, finding a whole lot of fireworks in the central town square of this village and stealing basically all of them. That continued into the next morning, where I found some TNT in someone's attic, and whew, this village goes absolutely hard. That's going to come so in handy, though. Any little bit of weaponry or advantage is going to be crucial. It might not seem like it right now. It might seem like a very tame start to the 100 days, but this is going to get very bad very quickly, and I need this tiny bit of prep time to make sure I have any chance at survival. Oh no. Oh no, I can already see it from here.
Oh man, you can already start seeing it on them. Oh my god, it's really bad in the cold areas. Look. See, right there. See all that, like, dark greenish stuff? That's all Skulk. That's a lot.
Oh, that's not good. We're gonna. Oh. Oh, that's not good. That's gonna start sending out scouts soon.
Thanksgiving is happening. You won't believe. Your place by chance.
That is a problem. As a capital P problem. Seeing that the skulk is already spreading, I need to keep on the move. First things first was finding some obsidian from a nearby nether portal. I don't have
What
time
you
yet, so
doing?
this is going to come in really handy. Marking the location because there's gold and other things here which are definitely going to be useful. I was enjoying the fact that I was fighting just some vanilla mobs in a cave underneath this.
Oh, yeah, hold on.
Portal, sleeping out in the field
Better.
going into day 6, where there was another nearby pillager tower that I went over to go loot, mainly for the arrows and other supplies that would come in handy, and checking the spawn.
Also, I
it
thought I
already
saw a
looks
raccoon.
So much worse. I made my way back over towards the village and then through a cherry blossom biome that was right here. It looks peaceful and idyllic.
Oh yeah, I saw a
before
bunny
it's gonna
today.
turn into a wasteland. Finding another village relatively.
On the way back home from where we went, I saw a bunny. It was awesome. It was a cute little bun. Doing a hoppity hop. Cheeto.
Really close by and grabbing a whole bunch of flint and then the anvil from one of their scarecrows there. That's going to save me a lot of iron. But I don't really need to worry about iron
It's
when I'm
always
just grabbing
pretty cool
blocks from
seeing a
everywhere
random
that I can
rabbit.
find it. I slept in the attic of that house before spending the next morning basically shoveling gravel the whole time, just trying to get myself more flint. I need that for arrows and fletching
butt.
tables, but I'm definitely also going to need diamond armor because look how much it's already spread its spawn.
Oh man.
This is moving and it's only going to accelerate. I saw some caves in a nearby mountain that I thought maybe would lead down to the deep slate level where I'd be able to pick up some diamonds or other resources. Following those down, I kept going, hitting a mine shaft, because of course I did, and then an ancient city. Now, this is the Skulk Apocalypse, but this is not where the apocalypse began, at least not initially. Grabbing a
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so Skulk is kind of like this new thing in Minecraft where it's more or less like well, it's like a mold. And it can spread even in base game, but not very much. And it can't infect other creatures. Oh, and it's made out of like damned souls. Can you run from it? Yes. But that's not advised. Because the skulk can trigger other things that spawns the warden. And the warden is this big beefy motherfucker who will absolutely wreck your shit in one hit.
a bunch of gold as well, because I'm going to need that to be able to work on a cure to push the skulk back. And while
Yep.
the Deep Dark is normally the most stressful thing in vanilla Minecraft, this was going to be tame compared to what was coming, but I definitely needed the gear that was hidden inside. Using some shears, I was harvesting up the wool pathways here since I didn't have time to prep for anything else, making sure to block off all of the shriekers and carefully navigating from chest to chest to chest. That hoe that I found would be an absolute godsend, basically carry me through the entire 100 days, and some protection armor is nothing to sneeze at either. I'm carefully sneaking my way around, making sure to wool off any chests that I find, getting whatever I can. All of it will be useful. It did get to a few points where shriekers were unavoidable, but there were some pretty decent books in there, so it made it somewhat worthwhile, and I have multiple strikes to work with before I need to worry about a warden summoning in. But this is not the Deep Dark of vanilla. No, it is not lifeless except for the warden. The mites are here. Those are skulk mites, and they're basically stage 0 of the infection. They'll burrow into any mob, and when that mob dies, it drops a whole bunch of skulk. They basically reproduce through other creatures. And the fact that they were here in the Deep Dark, way far away from spawn, was not something that I knew this mod did. So that was terrifying. I found some unbreaking diamond pants, which are going to come in very, very handy. All I need to worry about is protection now, grabbing potions and other supplies, and trying to work my way up on experience that I could fast track myself towards enchanting. I'm also mining up any diamonds that I find, accidentally setting off another Shrieker. That's strike 2. And shortly after that, hitting strike 3, thinking I had protected something that I very clearly didn't. A few seconds after that, though, I thought I had maybe triggered a 4th because I heard a noise that sent shivers down my spine.
That's a different goal.
Oh no. Okay, that was not a warden, that was something worse.
Worse.
Brave mind.
A what?
That means it's going to start hunting.
Oh no.
At this point, a warden is the least of my concerns. And almost as if on cue, I did happen to summon a warden right as I said that line. It's almost like I jinxed myself and I really shouldn't have tempted fate. But my main priority was just getting out of here. The map was already skulked all the way up on the surface of the mountain, which meant I needed to extract myself from this situation as quickly as possible. But in working my way back up to the surface, there were still vanilla mobs I needed to contend with. That is a lot of creepers. I continued burrowing along through the world in my little tiny safe 1x2 tunnel, hitting water that led up to the river directly next to the village that I was living in. The mountain was already pretty visibly covered in skulk. Hi, this is Editing Lagundo. That is underselling it. That's all I'm gonna say. It gets very worse. But my pockets were full from all of the deep dark loot, and we're gonna need to go back. We're gonna need more. So I thought, let's upgrade the backpack again, see what else I could potentially add to it. First things first was a crafting grid upgrade, which would allow me to craft from anywhere. I could be much more on the move. I also upgraded it to gold, adding another 3 rows of inventory.
Dude, this mod, this backpack mod is broken as hell.
Very handy. I dropped off anything that I didn't think I would need immediately in a chest here in the village, storing it off because this would be kind of my forward operating base. My biggest holdback was blaze rods, as I was banning myself from the nether for this 100 days challenge, which meant that I couldn't get into any potion brewing or anything else along those lines, unless I could find another way to somehow access that in the overworld. But I spent a whole bunch of time looking at the mod pack, and I hadn't given myself that opportunity. So now worried that I had 2 skulk nodes to worry about, a main one and then that ancillary node, I just spent a little bit more time making sure that I had basically taken anything of use from the village because I didn't know how long it was going to last. The following day, I spent some time cooking up all of my iron and gold, just getting that smelted before heading off in another direction, just exploring what else was out and around here and another way to potentially get more supplies. In doing a really big loop, I found myself back at the mountain on top of that deep dark. Oh my god.
That's bad.
That just spawned yesterday. Look at how much of the mountain that took over that quickly. Oh, that's not good.
Yep.
Oh, this
that
is
is
such
bad.
a problem. We need to find one of those hives that we can get the stuff that we need to like cure this issue. I approached the mountain in the bravest possible way that I could. Oh, the last thing I want to do is approach this at night. And quickly slept here on the trees going into day 11. And the next day, with the sun out, I was finally ready to brave the mountain, but the sounds and the infection spreading so quickly had me concerned. Oh, that's one of the summoners. Okay, we need to be very careful of that, or can we get around to it?
It's dead.
Huge.
You ever have a clip you just want to share with your friends? You can't go back in the game, the replay's gone forever. Outplayed has one step.
And let me tell you, I was not prepared for what I was about to run into. Oh my god.
That's bad.
That's a Ravager.
Yep.
That was a Ravager.
That is in fact a Ravager. How did that get there?
Okay. That is a Skulk Ravager. That is what's also known as a big freaking problem. Every little bit here would help. Everything would hold the horde back, even for just a few extra seconds. And over time, that would add up. But right now, I was fighting a losing battle. Oh, this is bad.
That's a Skulk Creeper.
What is that? Please don't tell me that's infested. That's almost certainly infested, right?
Muy no
It's
bueno.
got Skulk on its head. What is that?
Looks like a phoenix.
What is that? Oh, that's horrifying. I don't see any hives. Oh, there's just more of the summoners already. I just saw mites there. Oh, this is... Oh, great. There's one of those things, too. Now that's constantly spawning spores. Can I get that? Almost.
Hey, at least it
It's
has
good.
low
It's
health.
good. We've killed... I mean... It amounts to nothing, but... We're trying. That's worse.
That's
That is
really
so much
worse. Oh my
worse.
gosh. That is so bad.
Okay. We need gold. We need lots of gold very quickly. Knowing that the mountain was
This
no
is
longer
bad.
safe, I ran away for a while, sleeping in the middle of a field
Seagulls!
before starting to think that I desperately need to upgrade off of just plain iron armor. I found another set of caves and started diving down, delving to a point where I'm going to see diamonds somewhere, hopefully at least. And yeah, I found some gold, some diamonds, and fought off a few creepers, which comparatively now don't feel super dangerous. There were also some enchanter mobs and other things that I had to fight down here that you wouldn't just see in the vanilla game, but we are oh so far off of vanilla at this point, this should be pretty obvious. I was fighting a few endermen to get pearls, mainly for escape routes if I happen to get into a bad situation, spending almost the entire day
Why do
mining up
endermen
a
make
bunch
that
of
horrible
whatever I
noise?
could and heading back to the village to smelt up all of the gold because I'm going to need that for gold apples, which are an essential part in the curing process of this worldwide infection. The next day, I headed to yet another nearby village, which was just over the ridge. Having 3 is good, so I have a bit of a backup, and there's a lot of supplies in here, especially in this one, which has this kind of market space, which has things like enchanted books just sitting on the walls, and pearls, which I was trying to kill Enderman for that yesterday, so it's gonna come in handy. I keep looking on the map to try to gauge or check where the infection is actually spreading to, but it's starting to hit to the point where I doubt it's updating in real time anymore, especially not on the closer mountain, which would need to be loaded unlike the spawn. So I headed back over in that direction, sleeping at the river and doing a little bit more peeking around, heading back over to where it spawned to see how accurate my map was compared to the situation that was actually developing here. And it's pretty accurate. I mean, it's bad. It definitely looks bad. With the trees being infected, all of the leaves gone, and the ground converted to nothing but skulk. But we can't just run from this situation. We need to take it head on. Because as I started researching again, what would it take to cure this situation? There are 2 main things that I need. The first is skulk
Right.
resin, which you can harvest from underneath.
Oh no, the bees! Look at the poor little bees. Poor bees. He didn't deserve that.
Skulk beehives, which only happen in the areas that are deeply infected, so you have to fight your way in. You can't just run. The second is calcite clumps, which are even harder and require getting close to a grave mine to collect. And that is definitely going to be tough. So I'm
Yep.
basically just patrolling around the outer barrier of the infection at spawn, trying to see if I can see any potential hives. Just especially if one is easy to get to, I can get underneath and start collecting the resin so I can start fighting back before the infection gets too bad. The problem is it's evolving, which means it's spawning more and more difficult and powerful mobs as I'm probing in. As I push, it pushes back. And the fact that there's drowns with tridents right outside of the infection zone doesn't really help either. But I thought, why don't I loop around to the other side that isn't just a massive hill right next to a lake? So the following morning, I did that, just patrolling around that edge, again, just trying to find a single hive, because if I can get to that, then I can start pushing back against this thing. If I don't,
The
it's
mushrooms
a
look
losing
neat, at
battle.
least.
Thankfully, the one good thing about this is I will never run out of experience in this 100 days, as I can just mine my way away with that god hoe that I was able to find in the ancient city. Unfortunately, if you're not careful, you do end up summoning a whole lot of things to fight you. I don't know what the heck that is, but it is moving way too fast. So that's an infected Vindicator. Can you tell that I installed this mod and started playing it? Before fully researching it, I wanted to be surprised. I was mainly afraid. I was able to bow that down though, continuing to mine around the edges of the Skulk infection, getting myself up to level 17, which allowed me to put the Swift Sneak book that I had collected onto my diamond pants. Now they were pretty much perfect. So with one objective done, I'm still scouting to try and...
Oh yeah, Swift Sneak's a new enchantment in Minecraft where it makes you more quiet, and it's good for in ancient cities and skulk things. Because it's all sound
attack
based.
the other. Wait. The bees! The bees! There's a hive. There's a hive right there. That's what we need. pretty
Beige.
So we need to get underneath that hive. Oh, it's not great, but it's
Ooh,
possible.
it's deep in there.
All right. We have a plan.
That's what she said.
We have a plan. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's a good plan, but it's a plan. I'm gonna have
A plan's a plan's a plan.
to fight my way in to where the horde is, and to do that, I'm gonna need to be prepared. A bunch of food so I can heal, some golden apples so I can heal even
I'm
harder
awake.
when I inevitably get hit, and one quick nap later. We're going in on day 16. Oh, Fox, you want to leave?
Oh,
This is not a good place for you.
Folksy folks, run
Oh,
away.
that's a Ravager. So this is going to be tricky. The horde naturally wants to defend itself, and the more threatening that I appear to it, the stronger mobs that it will spawn. And the closer I push into where that hive is, the more threatening I appear. It's this
Thank you,
big
Bun.
death spiral if you're not careful. And the main thing I need to do is take out these spore spewers at range to slow down the growth of the skulk so that I can
know.
get in
He just
between
snuck
waves,
in
because it
here.
costs it mass in order to spawn those mobs.
Yes.
So fighting it does in fact kind of starve it for resources. The problem is those resources would very happily eat my face. Oh, I'm out of arrows. And now since I couldn't fight at range, this was about to get a whole lot worse. I continued pillaring up thinking maybe I could trick it.
That's good. Sorry, snack time. I'm good for now.
Maybe I can cause them to die of fall damage. Oh, this is a bad place to be. But unfortunately, that didn't really work. The mobs still have some semblance of self-preservation, even though they're now controlled by the hive mind. But not being able to take this assault on the ground, I'm just bridging over certain death beneath me, trying to get my way towards that hive and box myself
Snacks are
in.
important.
Wait, what's that? Burrowed and lure. What does that even mean?
Don't know.
Sensors right there.
It looks like something from The Binding of Isaac.
Too. Well, I hate that. I'm starting to feel a little out of my depth in this moment, so I bridged out and away to get away from the Ravagers, hoping they'd either despawn or lose aggro. Just swimming out into the lake and eventually finding a bucket of lava, and I'm thinking, you know what? It worked.
I think someone just stole a car.
For the thing, it might just work for the skulk mobs too. That's annoying that I just wasted my ender pearl. And as I was heading back with the skulk mob still floating in the lake, something else was just chilling there with their llamas. This wandering trader chose a very bad place to live. And I gotta admit, this wandering trader has the most guts I've ever seen of any wandering trader ever. We try to sell things here and now. Tempting as all of that is, I don't think we're gonna take it.
I know, but if I lived out there, I wouldn't be able to walk to and from a workplace. I know it's safer, but we also have to consider quality of life and like jobs and stuff, not just safety.
But with lava in hand, I have one more shot to try to do this, to get towards that hive. So I bridged my way in, slept on that bridge so I could see what I was doing, and started burning everything the following morning. Now I have to be careful because I am up on a tree, a normal tree, a tree that can still burn. I'm basically just really committing to pyromania for a bit here. The mobs do still naturally pathfind away from it, but I can do my best to try to push them into it. And I crafted up a tiny bit of arrows, but ended up helping the horde as I spread Skulk via a catalyst.
Oh no.
But over time, I just spent multiple trips running and getting cobblestone, coming back, extending the bridge, trying to break sensors before mobs would spawn, failing, and spawning a whole bunch of mobs. Yep, very stupid. And I'm using that single bucket of lava I have as the only weapon that can really fight the horde right now. I have to be careful though, because the Ravagers, I found out, can swim up that and would try to eat my face. So that would be very, very bad. I got to the point where I was burning the bees and the spore spewers, but more summoners were starting to spawn, meaning we were right back to the point where everything I did spawned in more mobs and caused me to get delayed even further. Oh, come on. Eventually, I got within striking distance of the hive, but I have to dig underneath it to get to the resin. And in doing so, I'm fighting things like that creeper, which when it explodes, immediately infects a massive area around that location. And every infection makes the horde that much more aggressive. So now we're dealing with more Ravagers and the cows, which summon just tons of mites. I honestly feel really bad for the cows. They get the worst deal in this whole thing. But I fought through the night into the morning, burning everything that I could, and eventually getting to the point where I'm feeling like it's time to just commit, to do the best that I can. Because the horde are starting to infect the cobblestone that I was using to bridge in, and I don't know if that meant that it was going to be able to start spawning on my bridge instead of underneath it. So I went down, boxed myself in, got to the point where the resin could spawn, and got a whole one piece.
Wow, a whole single piece.
All of that work, 3 days worth of burying for one resin. One. What do I need to make a purifier? Essence of purity, I need those. How do you even make infested crying obsidian? I don't know.
I
need
assume.
4.
Oh man.
But at this point, it was time to tactically advance to the rear, getting far away from spawn and back over towards my village because I need to upgrade basically every...
He bravely runs away.
He bravely runs away. Ugh.
everything I have if I want any chance of surviving here. I fought my way through a few caves looking for some easy diamonds, heading up and over the mountain, passing by where the grave mine had spawned. Well, that's horrifying.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, that's so much worse.
Snacks.
Ooh. That might turn
Boo.
into a hive. And once I found my way back to the closest nearby village, there was emeralds on the table, cake waiting for me, and a bed, which I slept in quite happily. The following morning, I realized all the villagers were trapped inside the fountain, so I spent some time just releasing them. It's a pool party, not the end of the world. Come on, get with the program. Where I found a bunch more villagers that had trapped themselves inside of a pen. And I don't want to set up a full villager breeding station and trading and all of that, so I just dropped a composter down, trying to see if I can trade in all of the wheat that I have for emeralds that I could then hopefully convert into things like arrows, while I'm also focusing on mining up gravel to be able to craft the arrows manually at the same time. Eventually, I did get an amazing trade with the fletching table, both sticks and arrows. That's going to come in so handy. And now I can fight the Skulk at range, which is great because only 2 of those mobs can actually attack me back at range. This is the tactical advantage. I made my way back up to the attic of one of the nearby houses, and it's time for everyone's favorite joke. And I use that to make myself an enchanting table, because even diamond armor alone is not going to be enough to survive this. The following day, I'm still trying to roll for another villager who will have a wheat trade, eventually getting one about halfway through the day, honestly. I traded with them for almost everything that I could, grabbing every bookcase that I could find, stealing any bread I could get, and trading any logs that I could mine down into sticks for additional emeralds. I found the top of a house that had some bookcases in a pretty decent order already, using a bit of my remaining wood to make myself a full level 30 enchanting setup. The main thing I'm short on this point is lapis, and I'll have to go get that. But before I did, I got a ping from all of my mods, and we celebrated something together.
Please. Oh, come on.
Yay! Good for him.
Watch it go down.
He got 500,000. Good
Thank you also
for him.
again for 500,000 subscribers. By the way, there's only 1 week left on the 500k merch on top of the Skulk merch from this drop. So make sure you go get that before.
I'm sure the subscriber count is much different now, but still, congratulations to what's this guy's name? Lagundo.
So, our front door still does not lock with the doorknob. There is no lock on the doorknob.
I noticed.
So we still need to use just the deadbolt to lock. But the actual latch catches now.
You don't have to push it in or anything.
Yep.
Cool. I'm gonna have to edit all this out.
Are you even recording?
I am.
Ah.
I'm recording for once. Oh God, I'm
But
so
getting back on topic,
so
getting back
silly.
on the business, I headed to the massive flooded caves that's directly next to the village, using some magma blocks to allow me to be able to breathe, mining up some lapis around here so that I could start doing the enchanting, heading down and digging through the aquifer into the caves
I keep
proper,
forgetting.
working my way down additionally into the deep slate level where I'm grabbing mainly more lapis, because that's all I seem to be finding right now. Getting down to a point where there's a ton of iron, a ton of gold, but not the diamonds that I'm really looking for. Striking out on that, I continued working my way
Yes,
through the
we
caves,
do.
mainly elevating a little bit and mining through the stone level just for speed, heading over to another massive deep slate cave. Here I did a little bit of Enderman battling just to get myself some pearls fighting off.
Oh. That reminds me, don't forget we need to get a new chain lock as well.
Yeah, I'm not doing that
Why?
because I don't want to have to drill more shit into this door.
Okay.
It's not a
Off
solid
a few-
stone door like the other one. This one's fiberglass.
Ew.
Creepers and
Okay,
finding
fine.
a decent bit of diamond. Enough where I'd be able to get a full set of armor, but as I got close to one of the walls, I heard a very disturbing squelching sound. Oh, that's not good.
Ugh, I hate that word.
Oh, we're nowhere close. Oh no, that's so bad. The skulk was already starting to grow directly underneath the village that I was currently calling home. It was only a matter of time before it would break the surface and attack me in
No.
earnest. And once the grave mine
No! Mm-mm. Nope. Don't like that.
Toast. Come here, kitty. You want some milk? Come here, kitty chicken.
There's a
gets to
cat
certain
making
point,
cat
it's
noises.
actively hunting for me and for priority targets. You know what a priority target would be? This village. If it can kill everything here, that's a massive boost to its mass. So I need to be very careful, and I need to start working on a cure ASAP. But I headed back to the village, getting protection enchants on my armor, so I'm gonna need it very, very soon.
I'm
smelting up
eating
all
some
of the
sweet
gold that I
potato
possibly
fries.
can, crafting
They're
up some golden apples,
delicious.
and then combining that with amethyst to get the essence of purity. With that, I can start actually fighting back against the horde. But I'm gonna need some sand for that because I'm gonna need to craft some of that into bottles, and I did a little bit of smelting throughout the night in one of the furnaces here in the village, getting myself a whole 8 essence of purity, and then starting on that process again. I'm gonna need a lot of these, and half a stack is barely going to cut it. Day 22. Now armed with a bit of a cure, I can think of one way which I can slow down the horde so that it won't immediately be attacking me. It's risky, it's very dangerous, but it is potentially the only way to fight back against this infection. I headed over towards where the grave mine was, retracing my steps down through these massive caves, climbing down the water and getting to the ancient city. From there, I threw my first purification flask and watched as it slowly chewed away the skulk, converting it back into dirt and turning
Ooh.
everything from the sensors to the shriekers into grass. This is how you can fight back against the horde. Pushing back against the horde, I started slowly making my way through the ancient city, disinfecting areas as I started to push in and tracing my way towards that heartbeat that I could hear in the distance. That white sphere that was growing in the ceiling of this space, that's the grave mind brain, or at least a sub-mind of it. And that's what's actively
Oh, hun, I'm done.
Here, I'll trade you.
Toast. Why does she smell like oil?
I don't know.
hunting me right now.
Well, I have a
So I
cat
need to
now.
just slowly make my way towards it. And thankfully, at this point, it's still all vanilla skulk. Just gonna get bad as we get closer. Thankfully, I found a few things that would help. I'm still looting while I'm at it because it turns out I had missed a few things.
Excuse me.
Oh, that's huge.
Yes, they do.
Huge,
And this one's
huge.
particularly
But I have to take
fuzzy.
this very carefully, especially as I get closer to the Skulk Mine. It's less the vanilla ancient city generation and more what you find in the
Fuzzy,
mod,
fuzzy, fuzzy.
which means it's summoning mobs now and aggressively hunting.
She's
and
mad.
Fighting them sets
She's so mad. She hates being held
sensors,
so
which sets off
much,
more
but
summoners,
she's so
which
cute.
sets off more mobs. You have to just worry about things cascading out of control very quickly. Thankfully, the purification flasks are doing a good job
entire
at pushing
different
things
cats.
back, and I'm able to kite around the
Hey,
Ravagers,
hi,
shooting them
Rose.
the half a dozen or so times it takes to kill
Come
right
join
now.
the
I eventually
party,
ran out
nope.
of blocks, so I needed to mine up the dirt that had been
I
converted
still
from
see your
Skulk,
tail.
which had been converted from Deep Slate, which was a result of the infection. This is a weird block path. Eventually getting my way over towards the brain. Now, I'll admit, you see in the corner, I should have the darkness effect right now. Something with my
Chippy little
shaders and
sausage
darkness
butt.
didn't really play nicely. So this is a little less dangerous than you would have if you were fighting
There
it
she
in vanilla.
goes.
But I'm going to take any advantage I can get, considering everything in the world is eventually going to become part of a hive mind and try to eat me. So I very slowly mined my way in towards the brain, and then was faced with a problem. This thing will regenerate. If you break the blocks, they'll just grow back. Without efficiency, it is super slow to mine at this thing. And purifying it didn't seem to do anything, at least not directly. So I really only had one choice.
It exploded.
After the first blast did basically nothing, I reloaded again with some more, and it's growing back almost as fast as I can place the TNT. But eventually the node was exposed.
Opera GX.
God damn
Trying
it.
to play a game while you're watching your favorite YouTuber on the side, and then boom, your game.
Eat shit and die, Opera GX. JK, don't do that. I'm gonna edit that part out.
This is gonna take a minute.
No shit.
And a minute it did. At that point, I was worried that it was going to be able to fully regrow before I could break the block. So I committed.
Yes! Oh, that's a lot of different noises and none of them sound good.
Yes! So the brain was gone. That doesn't mean the whole thing was cured. Far from it. The skulk would continue to grow, just in a slightly less mature state. The thing I had to worry about now was the warden that I just spawned. I defeated a skulk node.
He sounds deliriously happy about that.
Knowing that I had a bit of breathing time, I'd bought myself at least a few days. I spent some time mining up as much of the skulk as I could, grabbing whatever diamonds that I could find, and then slowly making my way back up and towards the surface. I torched the entrance so I could get back down to the ancient city without having to go to the mountain itself, slept in the village, and then now with a bit more time, spent some time mining up any skulk that I had collected and brought with me just to get my level up a little bit higher, and then focused on enchanting. First priority here was tools. Considering how slow it was to mine my way into those skulk brains, I'm gonna need something, and I can't be picky here either. I'm short on diamonds, so I'm enchanting my iron armor just so I have something.
There's so
Featherfalling
many
is gonna be
different
extremely
paths
important,
here.
and even just unbreaking on iron armor is worth it in this situation. It's the end of the world. You can't be picky. But I did see a Fortune 3 book, which is definitely something I want. So it's time to focus on earning experience, mainly through villager trading, which was able to get me up a few quick levels. And then I thought, let's head over to the next village nearby and see what they have. I ran and grabbed all of the wheat from there, which I could then turn in for more trades, sleeping and continuing to pillage my way through. I thought, considering I can't get to the nether or the end, I'm going to need a faster method of transportation. So I started working on taming a horse, and my friend here was actually pretty decently fast. Not having to worry about jumping up the very mountainous terrain separating these villages, I was able to get back home pretty quickly, doing a whole bunch of trades to get myself up to level 17, and then fighting off a few mobs, mainly for food, not so much for the experience. Once it started raining, I returned back to the village, did a little bit of mob breeding as well, and saw some villagers in precarious positions. I have so many questions. That's a mood. But taking full
Just
advantage
staring
of the
into
breather
the
I had bought
chimney,
myself, I was harvesting
that's a
all of the
whole
farms that
mood,
were
yeah.
here in the village, as well as finding a bunch of meat in a smoker cabinet that all I needed to do was light it up and get a whole bunch more meals ready to go. The next morning, I crafted myself up a diamond shovel so I'd be able to
the
mine
fuck was
sand a
that
little bit
mean?
faster, get that smelting, and
What the
convert that
fuck
into
was
more
that
bottles,
noise?
which is more purification flasks. From there, though,
Yeah,
I'm thinking
that
about what
one's
I'm
dumb,
going
or
to need
trying
to
to
take
become
on the
Santa
horde
Claus.
again. If another node spawns, I'm going to need a lot more TNT. If I'm going to head towards the central spawn, the ancient node, I'm probably going to need a whole lot more. So I spent the evening fighting mobs, and turns out Skulk is not the only thing trying to kill me in this world, and is also not the only thing trying to jump scare me.
Double creeper.
Maybe we just shoot them with the bow. But I fought my way through the night, taking on some endermen for pearls, any creepers that I could find for additional gunpowder, and repeatedly being jump scared by the raccoons. That's not ominous at all.
No, it's just a rat. Bring it back. I'm back. What's wonderful?
The following morning, I crafted myself up some TNT, and this mod pack has a slightly modified TNT recipe because, well, I'll be honest, once you get to a certain point,
The
only Skulk mob.
raccoons. Yes. Raccoons are wonderful. They're silly little trash pandas.
Are spawning, so the little bit less as far as gunpowder requirements is good, and requiring things like sugarcane when Skulk hunts plants is definitely a bonus as well. I also realized that I had collected the resources to turn that horn that I had found on the pillager tower into a Skulk horn, which would allow me to shoot out a giant Skulk blast, which is fun.
Moose.
Hello, cow. Goodbye, cow. But I jumped on my horse heading back towards the nether portal that I had visited some 15 odd days ago, because there are 2 pieces of crying obsidian. Now I know I need infected crying obsidian. I'm pretty sure I know how to get that, but I'm not 100% certain, but just
Oh, look at the little guy. Look at that little raccoon. Isn't he cute? Just being
having
silly
it
up
on
there.
me would definitely come in handy. As I was riding home, I did end up falling in a hole, which was kind of unfortunate. Took a little bit of time to dig my way out there, making my way back to the village, and then the following morning, we're getting at it to try to see what we can do next. The Skulk was now spreading down the mountain, meaning I'm fighting it as I'm down at the tree level, and there's a ton of summoners around. And the Skulk is still very much active and aggressive, even though there's no node underneath the mountain right now. All I've done is slow it down. Defeating the nodes is not how you kill it. You need to purify the whole world if you want a chance. But there is a new hive here, and getting some resin from underneath that is probably easier than getting it from all the way back at spawn. So I worked on bridging my way in, using shears to get resin from all of the different kind of, I don't know what to call this, hive growth blocks underneath, and using the occasional purification flask to push back the infection a bit. I also threw down the crying obsidian right at the edge of the infection radius, thinking
Ooh,
that's
it
probably
glows.
how it gets infected. At least that makes sense to me. And with that set off to cook, I figured I'd loop my way back around to spawn to see how far it had progressed here. Unfortunately, I did end up getting stuck in powdered snow and almost killing my horse. And doubly unfortunately, it was starting to cross the river, meaning that there was summoners all the way down to the coast. there was a ton of mobs spawning, and I'm loosing a good portion of arrows just trying to hold everything back. I'm using the purification flasks a little bit here and there just to try to see how much damage they do to mobs. Spoiler alert, basically nothing. You need to kill them in the old-fashioned stabby mode. But everything that I can learn is a little bit of information which will make me better at fighting the Horde. The following day, I was on my way back over. I checked the Crying Obsidian. None of that had been infected as of yet, but it's possible the Skulk just isn't growing in that direction or isn't growing as aggressively. I did make my way back up towards the hive, which had fully regened all the resin, so I was able to get 4 more of those. Heading over to meet up with my villagers, where I was able to convert a lot of emeralds into a lot more ammunition. And then we had a problem. Just over the hill from my village, a little scout was making their way over. There was a bee right here, a skulk bee this close. I mean, I killed it because, of course, I can't have it spreading spores. But every place you kill a skulk mob is learned by the grave mines, and they're going to come hunting. The next morning, I headed back over the hill.
That's some bad news bears.
On foot back towards the grave mine site, because if bees are starting to venture out from here, I need to push that back to try to delay it finding the village and knowing it's a prime raid target. There were spore spewers around which I needed to shoot. I'm throwing down purification flasks to just push back on the infection. And I figured we're checking it at the surface. We need to check it underground as well. I headed down into the cave system, just seeing what was around, seeing where the skulk was kind of growing in the general westerly direction to where my base was. I'm using flasks to try to mine that all down, eventually finding
What's happening?
exactly what.
Oh, that burned my eyes. Oh, that. Yeah, it was lame. But the ad earlier made me remember I have Thanksgiving Day off. That's right. This Thanksgiving, the possum is not going to be at work. Right? I have the whole day off because the store will be closed. Ah, that's so good. I'm going to have the whole day to just stuff myself full of food and laze around like a lump. So since me and Explodo both have Thanksgiving off, hey. Oh yeah. And don't you worry, I'm gonna stuff myself silly.
What was the problem? The infection had moved underground, mainly through mine shafts and other small caves down here, to the point where it had split the difference, already made it halfway to where I was based up. Oh, this is super close to the village. I just throwing purification flasks
Sounds
pretty
good.
indiscriminately, and there's the
That way we can, plan for a little bit later with Explodo's family, and we can just enjoy Thanksgiving with both families on Thanksgiving Day. Like, we can go there on 2, have a few hours to digest, and, get ready for the next course, and then go over there. That sounds like the perfect plan to me. Like, this can work. I'm just hoping we're also going to be closed on Christmas, because that would be good too. But I'm not holding my breath. It's already surprising that they're closed on Thanksgiving. They are usually open on Thanksgiving.
hive that bee probably came from. The question I have is how it made it to the surface. I'm not sure
You wouldn't what?
about that, but at least I now know kind of how far it had reached. We had to do something about it. The main thing I could do is break the hives. That is priority number 1, and I'm using a ton of
Hold
flasks.
my
I started
breath.
with
Yeah,
32,
I'm not
down
gonna.
to 10, and I've just been throwing them pretty willy-nilly, honestly. As it rolled over to day 32, I'm fighting underground and setting off a few summoners, which is giving me some mobs to deal with, and I need to be careful here. But it's very close quarters, so the super dangerous mobs, the Ravagers, are normally getting caught inside the mine shafts and not able to come munch on my face directly. While I was down here, I did some looting. There's still vanilla creepers to deal with. There's the mine shaft where you can get a whole bunch of things in the chests and a ton of gold, which is great because I have a feeling I'm going to need a lot more purification flasks very soon. But in exploring around this cave system, seeing the full extent to which the skull...
I can promise that the store will not be open the usual hours on Christmas. It will be open 10 to 6. And I'll be working one of 2 shifts, either from 10 to halfway or from the halfway mark to 6. It won't be a full day, 8 hours probably.
had grown and how far it was probing out into the rest of the overworld, I got an idea of just how bad this was going to get. I actually ended up underneath the mountain directly adjacent to my
It's a while
village.
away.
Thankfully, I had the purity buff, so I didn't have any spores on me. I don't think I could be tracked. Unfortunately,
at least you can count on Explodo having the day off. He has holidays off, I think.
the bees were even closer this time. No longer on the top of the mountain, now down in basically one of my villagers' backyard. It seems now the question was when, not if, this village would be compromised. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that takes as long as possible, making a whole new set of flasks the following day, just looking around to try to see where it was growing up to the surface.
Oh yeah,
those bees were spawning up here. That meant that there was a hive a lot higher up than down in the deep slate. And I investigated in some of the caves around here, finding another bee and a section where the skulk was actually pretty close up to the surface. I spent some time, basically the whole day, just cleaning this cave, between throwing flasks and manually breaking all.
But I'll let the relevant parties know what my hours will be this holiday season. I did put in for New Year's off so I can hide in a corner because I hate fireworks.
All of the skulk vines, I was able to trace my way down and through to see how that connected to the mineshaft that I had been in just the previous day. When I went up to check the surface a little bit more at the end of the day, there were more bees, so this is only going to get worse. And realizing just how close these actually are, the following day I was visited by another wandering trader, and this one was not as lucky to survive the end of the world. I wonder what happened to them. But in going and checking on my crying obsidian, it had still not been infected. It seems like the Skulk Horde is focusing on prioritizing underground growth right now to be able to pull some sort of sneak attack instead of moving overtly over the grass. So I moved the crying obsidian a little bit deeper in, and I also thought about throwing a few flasks to push the infection back to see if it would try to regrow and gain the same space. But while that was working, I'm thinking it's gonna be bad soon. Let's get whatever else we can out of this village. I'm breeding all of the
Hun.
mobs that I can, finding another closet full of meat that I was able to cook up, and seeing a zombie piglin up on the surface. And considering we had no nether portals in this world, that pig got struck by lightning. Imagine the odds of that. Does that count as streamer luck? I think that counts as streamer luck. The next day, I converted everything I had into more TNT. It was probably not enough to kill another node, but one is inevitably going to spawn, and I wanted to be prepared.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Prepared for when it did. I headed back over the mountain to check on my crying obsidian. It had not yet expanded into that, and I figured let's go back down into the caves and try to hold the infection back from my village as long as humanly possible. Taking advantage of the high ground, shooting down to any mobs that I potentially would encounter, and using flasks wherever possible to push back the infection. I'm just trying to hold it back to do what I can, but the regular creepers wanted my death too. In my panic for running from that creeper, I set off another summoner, which summoned a Ravager, which was trying to chase me, and I ran down one of the caves, blocking myself up in a 1x2 hole with only 2 hearts underground in the middle of the horde. This is the worst I had been by far. Taking my time to collect myself, avoid any potential confrontation, I just...
You still on the phone?
No.
They said, my folks said that they wanted to do their Thanksgiving at 2.
Okay. I see that. We can probably do that. And
What?
then when we're done over there, we just head over to my folks.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe have like a little bit of time so we can, you know, fully digest the previous meal.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's probably going to be a little while before your parents are really, really ready.
It'll probably be a little while before Ricky shows up, too.
Yeah, so.
Because he's a frickin' weenus.
Yeah.
Slowly mined my way back up to the surface, avoiding anything else in my way. In the process, as I rolled over to day 36, I broke my
excuse me,
pickaxe
goodness.
without paying attention. I was just so focused on trying to escape, so I had to craft myself up a new one, wasting essential diamonds, but securing my safety, at least for now. I made my way back up to the surface, looking to see what my new pickaxe would roll at, and Fortune 3 was an option. But I didn't have the time to get myself up to level 30, so I settled for Efficiency, Fortune, and Unbreaking. A lesser version, but at least it's something. After a bit more trading with my villager friends, also taking the time to invest some money into food. I never buy
I'm
food,
actually
and I always
gonna look
run
up-
out of food in these 100 days. I made some more golden apples, made some more purification shards,
the
took a quick
villagers
nap,
look like
both in
squibbers.
real life and in the game, and as soon as I logged in the next day, I think some sort of cooldown had ended, because things were about to accelerate. Oh no. Okay, I knew that was coming, but I didn't know it was gonna happen right away. Now here's the worst problem. I don't know where that is. It could be at spawn, it could be here, it could be right underneath me, and I have no idea. Uh-oh. Okay. Oh, we have work to do. The advantage I had with the first node is I knew exactly where it had spawned. This time I was nowhere near as lucky, so it was going to be a guessing game on where I needed to go. This is also about
Okay. So, according to the quick search I did, the villagers look like Squidward because they are a cross of a design of a pig-like villager and the squids. So they look like Squidward because they are mixed a little bit with squids. And that's where we're going to end the stream today. It's been fun hanging out with everybody who came here today. I gotta go play possum now for a little while. I'll catch you guys on the next stream on Spooky Scary Saturday. Bye. if you're here watching the stream after I've edited all the stuff. Hi. Like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on the notifications. Come join the Possum Passel. Bye.